Is that what we're streaming to?
Oh, we're live.
Are we live?
Yeah, I just clicked on it.
Oh,
Yeah, we're live.
yeah. No, I knew that. I was totally prepared.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
Yeah, that was not a surprise
Whoops.
when I saw it on my phone because I was like pulling it up and I was like, oh, 5-year anniversary with Jeff Geegan.
Is that what?
Wait, and then saw the icon and I was like,
Wait, what does that say? Does that say it somewhere?
well, like I just loaded up Grawlix podcast in and of itself, and that was like at the top of the list or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so then, but then I saw the icon, it was like live, and I'm like, oh, good
Okay.
morning.
It's getting to the part where you just told me and I'm like confused. Okay. Hey. Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Jesse.
And we're live. Oh, you know what? We're not live on Helix Rock Radio yet. And we're about
Oh,
to
look at
be
you YouTubers getting all the YouTubers get it. All the good stuff.
pre-show. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, pre-show. Oh, that's good. Kicking an old school. We are back on YouTube and we're just doing things the way we used to.
Oh, we really are back on YouTube. I hadn't even realized, but looking at it, we haven't streamed on YouTube since November. Wow. That probably about the time StreamYard decided to get a little Scroogey about things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, let me hit start broadcast over here. Type in some words. What a way to start a radio show, right? Typing.
Yeah, you guys get to see all the I'm gonna tape on my phone, and you can hear him clickety clacking over there, and the open sign says we're open for business. Yes, I assure you, we are open.
Yep. Hey, so what's happening, everybody? Grawlix podcast streaming now also on Helix Rock Radio. So
Yeah,
we got our stuff together. We know what we're doing. We're professionals.
yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Of course we do. Yeah, we do. We're fine.
We're totally
this is
professional.
fine. Yeah.
So no Melanie tonight. She is catching up on some sleep.
That bodes even more well.
Right, you know, the one who tries to keep us on track.
Yeah.
So I went to wake her up quite earlier, and she did not want to. So I was like, well, I'll let you sleep a little bit longer. And then it's like 10 minutes till 8. And I was like, I should try to wake her up again. So I went in there and I was talking to her. And she's clearly like not totally with it, but she was talking at me and she's like, see that little doggy? And I was like, where? She's like, right there. And I was like, in your dream? And she's like, maybe. So I was like, yeah, I don't think we got Melody tonight.
No.
She's too deep and I don't want to try to pull her out. She'd be all groggy and yeah. That's not a non-common thing. There's a good sometimes it's like instant she's awake and she's like kicking in like ah! But like there's a good several minutes usually where you can get like where she's existing in both worlds and telling you about the other one and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you know we're in the apartment, right? There can't be a dog unless you're hiding one from me somehow.
This is why I should have got real aggressive and paranoid. Why? What dog? Where's it at? You keeping a dog from me? You
in honor of David Lynch, you just get real weird.
Could get real weird with it. Oh yeah, we'll talk a bit about that too. Normally I avoid it, but man, I can't avoid talking about David Lynch.
No, you can't. I mean, he's kind of been a staple around here. He's a running joke around here, or running. Is that a running quote? He's a running quote around here.
He's inspired some memes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the pictures, like looking up gifs and stuff, and one of the gifs because I actually did post about it. Like I said, I normally don't comment, but I had to comment on David Lynch. But it was a clip of like him with, and it says, it's such a sadness, and I was like, oh, that's almost perfect. Except I
Mhm.
know that comes from that freaking video that we quote all the time, where he's talking about people watching movies on their effing phones, and that
Oh,
video is
right.
so funny to me. And I was like, out of context, it works. In context, nah, I don't want to share that one. That one's not
Right.
appropriate.
Sure.
But yeah, well, also there's a Daredevil trailer to talk about. We've been watching some random stuff. At least I have.
Oh, yeah. And we didn't cover it all last week. I mean, we took almost a month. We took almost a month off for the
Right.
holidays. It felt like, and so I've watched some things we didn't talk about last week. So
Right.
there's stuff. There's plenty.
Oh, you know what? We should do. We were talking about this earlier, and let me get a link real quick. I need to share this to Facebook and stuff. Daddy Zuck, Daddy Zuck's network.
Daddy. Ooh, that's a
You don't like that?
Daddy. Ooh, gross.
It is gross.
The old Zuck Daddy. Yeah, I was gonna try and riff on that, but I was like, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this is not the audience. Maybe this is not the audience for it. I don't know. Wow.
Zuck
So those
Daddy.
Facebooks, huh?
Oh, Zuck Daddy.
Old Zuck Daddy, and
Oh, I hope that's the thumbnail they keep. You're making quite the face in that thumbnail that it pulled
oh
up.
boy, I
I hope
bet.
it is so good. So good. People are
Ooh.
gonna click on that.
Am I doing one of those?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh man. Groups. Share it to the group. Listen, you know what to do at this point.
Yeah.
With Meta, with all your AI, why do I even have to click these buttons?
That's right. Yeah. Come on.
They apply
You're
it to
not
the
going to
most.
show it to anybody, anyways. We didn't pay for it.
Right. Nobody's gonna see it anyway.
Come on. Maybe 2 or 3 of our friends that have made it a point to interact with our content lately. So the algorithm blessed us with some pity.
Right. But first, how are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm
Yeah, you
I'm
won.
fine.
I
You know how I feel about I almost said Wednesdays. You don't know how I feel about Wednesdays because I don't talk about Wednesday. We don't talk about Wednesday.
No, you never talk about Wednesdays.
But we do talk about Thursday, and you know how I feel about Thursdays. Don't make me explain it.
Thursdays,
they can get
turn into the wrong shape.
Yeah, that's right. They can right angle.
Yeah.
They can get obtuse. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Man,
that was a cute reference.
I wish we had an audience for one.
Oh,
but for two, I wish
Me
it was
too.
I wish it was worth it to like have merch, so we could have merch that people like, so that the Thursdays could get bent, like t-shirt would become a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could do the offshoots to like special edition Thursdays are obtuse, or Thursdays can get right angled. That's what's
right.
That's why we're streaming on YouTube
It's
tonight.
just a 90-degree. It's this 90-degree angle, and it just says Thursday.
That's pretty good, actually. That's what Melanie's always like, you're just, funny saying on a shirt. I'm like, yeah, but I want it's got to be graphic. It's a graphic tee.
Well,
I want to do some visual something.
Yeah.
But that's why we're streaming on YouTube tonight, because that's what happened to Meta. They got right angled, and
they did.
we're just shying away from it.
That's right. I'm all about profiting off of them, and them not profiting off of me at all, or as low as possible.
I like never click their ads anyway, but man, I don't even want to give them the views.
I do, and that's the problem.
I know you do. I remember earlier tonight. I was thinking about you talking about that just like a couple weeks ago.
It was the original impetus. I've been feeling like I needed to get off of there for a while, anyways. And then they just gave me the perfect opportunity with their, I mean, like Twitter has become, or X or whatever it's, it's not usable to me. It's not even interesting to me. I don't even know why I still had it on my phone. So I finally just got it off my phone, and yeah, and so like the idea that Facebook might go that same direction, and maybe it won't ever be as bad as Twitter got. But if there's even a chance that it could get that bad, I'm just gonna get used to not using it as much now.
I can't see them as much as they want to cater to the next administration. I cannot see them getting that bad because they're built on advertising, like more so than like a ill-advised Musk sweep in and buying a company. He doesn't care. He just was
Right.
pushing his whatever. But Meta cares about their advertising money. That's their bread
Mhm.
and butter.
It
Um,
really is. Yeah.
so I can see it only going so far. That said, like fake news has always been a problem on there, and it will just, if anything, return to where it was before and then some before they really kind of did a crackdown. Um, but so it's not even going to be like, well, it'd be like old Facebook because they're still going to like I don't know, the algorithm will demote,
De-emphasize. Yeah.
de-emphasize stupid stuff, but then let just the crap through. So
Yeah.
it'll be like it was before, but worse. And that's the internet in a nutshell anymore.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've seen it. Like this is kind of the deterioration, or what's the word? The entropy of
Yeah.
all social media platforms.
Yeah.
Eventually, like I was thinking, I was even talking about this with my wife, and like there's just certain platforms that in the early days of social media you wouldn't see people use. Like I can't envision a world where my mother-in-law is on MySpace. Like she just wouldn't have used it. And I don't see her on she wouldn't be on Twitter now. She wouldn't be on Blue Sky or anything else. But there's just certain ones that like they're not quite in the zeitgeist. They're not quite pop culture household name the way that Facebook is. And
Right.
so this one hurts a little bit more if it goes that route.
Facebook, it really sucks because they're so big for one, but they're so intertwined.
Mhm.
They do have that older generation, and they got your family, and they've got your family pictures, and they've got your posts when you hung out with your family. And it's not like, not saying they're gonna do nefarious things, but it's just like that for a lot of people, I think, has been the way you connect with extended family or even close family. Uh, you've been shying away from Messenger. You took it off your phone. You still use it,
Mhm.
but you take it off your phone. Took it off your phone. Like Messenger's like the one meta thing where I'm like, I don't know
Mhm.
if I could ever totally separate from that as long as you know this group of people are on there. Like I kind of
Yeah.
need that. Uh,
That's the hard part. And that's why I can't totally cut it out, but I refuse to have it on my phone anymore.
yeah.
And I'll access it. Honestly, I'm not totally cutting out Meta entirely, but
Mhm.
I'm trying not to access it on my phone. And I have to use the Facebook app here and there for now because I manage so many Facebook pages. But I've taken it completely off my home screen, and I've uninstalled Instagram because I don't I don't use it,
Right.
and I think I must still have Threads on there, but it's not on my main page. And the only reason I installed Threads in the first place was for a minute there I thought it was going to be the next Twitter, and it's still okay. It's okay as far as like a
Right.
platform is concerned, but if they're just going to have the exact same issue that Twitter has right now, if they, you know, roll back all of their fact checking and whatnot and just let anything go.
Oh, by the way, sorry, Brandon. I'm a little slow. I don't have the chat set up on YouTube very well, but
Oh,
Brandon Lapani,
hey,
he says he's loving the conversation. He's listening on the radio. Blue Sky, very cool. Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I was about to say, I was like, this isn't a political conversation, but this is
right.
this is this is a tech conversation. We're going a little tech geek right
Yeah, we
now.
are going the old school, the technology geek.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, he mentioned Blue Sky. I've been trying. That's where I've been trying to spend my time.
Mhm.
And I like Blue Sky, and I was just a couple weeks ago, and we were praising it, and it was because it was feeling like Twitter,
Yeah,
specifically my Super Science profile anyway, was feeling like Twitter before Twitter really nosedived and I just bailed. Um, I will say cutting Threads out, and Threads has been a more increasingly has been more of a source of irritation when I go there with some of the stuff they show me. But
sure.
Blue Sky is definitely for me, the people I'm following. Of course, I'm not following a ton of people there yet. Like less than 100, uh,
Right.
which I get. I mean, 94 is that's a lot of people, but um, conversationally, it's not the same as Threads. Threads still, and that's the algorithm, which is it's a double-edged sword because their algorithm still favors, engagement bait and rage clicks and stuff like that. But it is still better at like showing me a thing where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to comment on that, and
Right.
just sticking primarily to my follower feed and even the discovery tab on Blue Sky isn't pulling me in as often in terms of conversation.
Oh, sure.
So I don't know. That's something I've noticed the last week or so since I've been trying to
Yeah, I could see that. I could see
focus
that. As
over there
well,
more.
especially because I mean, again, this not being a political conversation, but you've also avoided politics on
Yeah,
Blue
yeah,
Sky so far, right? And so
yeah.
that helps.
It
You know.
does. It does. I don't get irritated when I go to Blue Sky. It's just like a little lonelier. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Threads, I do get irritated, and there's even it's not necessarily. I mean, there it is political stuff sometimes, but even other stuff that I have told it, I've blocked countless users, and I said, "Let's see less of this." There's just certain
Mhm.
things that it every time it pops up in like stuff like that. It's just like stop it. Like I
Right.
thought you're supposed to be able to curate your algorithm a little bit, but ha,
We know you said you don't like to see this, but you like to see
you like
this.
to say it gets what's what you click on.
We've
I'm
got
like, yeah,
metrics on it. We see how long you hover.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You hover and you click on it every time. Yeah, but that click is to block
Yeah, yeah. Well, he engaged.
engagement. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you should. That's what you did wrong. You should know
Brandon
better.
says Blue Sky reminds him of Twitter, what Twitter was in the very beginning. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
so much. I I mean, I'm a little amazed that that Musk hasn't been able to successfully sue them because at this point
Oh
it's a
man.
pretty close to one-to-one clone on its
Oh
feature
yeah.
set and
Especially
UI.
especially the desktop. Like if you look
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
UI on the desktop, it's like, well, this looks just like old Twitter.
right.
you know?
There are definitely some improvements, like you can. I don't know how you do it, but the feeds people curate specific feeds of followers and
Mm,
stuff, and then like starter packs, like those are
yeah.
pretty cool features. That I don't think Twitter necessarily. I mean, Twitter you could make lists, but I don't think they
Mm.
had necessarily anything like that.
Yeah, you could never export them like the starter pack.
Right, right.
And that is cool. And I mean, like that has some real potential for growth if you used it right, because every
Hmm.
time you put one out, you're also putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yep. And yeah. I mean, that's it's incentive for people to do it. It is
sure.
enterprising, but that's yeah, it's an incentive. Um, I suppose we could. Yeah, Jack Dorsey, who owns Twitter, started it, and that is a con. But he's left. He's left it since. Like
Right,
if he
right.
was still in charge, it's just like because a lot of people are like, we're tired of these social media networks ran by like a central, uh, kind of narcissistic megalomaniac type billionaire who the whole
Who
network
has the
is up.
money to start a social media
Yeah,
account
yeah,
though?
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
So people
We
are
wouldn't get anything done if it weren't for those billionaires.
yeah, Brandon says he's also not sure how they didn't get sued. Um,
Yeah.
but so people were pointing to Jack Dorsey like that. He's not like necessarily a good dude, but he's left too. So I don't know.
Mm.
The other alternative is Mastodon, but that is not going to catch on with the general public because the
No.
whole server
You have to
thing
know too
is
much.
yeah, yeah. I even struggled with it. Brandon was running a server for a while, and I didn't, and I was on his, and like I didn't really use it much, so I didn't like grow. But like I struggled when I did use it, just to like
Mm,
because it's not like site wide or anything public is immediately accessible. You kind of have to know certain servers to reach out to or to search for. Like you could
sure.
access it, but it was still kind of complicated.
I couldn't figure it out, and okay, I didn't give it enough time. I
Right.
probably could have eventually figured it out, but it felt the way that people described it, it felt like what Discord is, and so I was like, well, I'll just be on Discord then.
Right.
If it's going to be kind of siloed, but I know Discord is different, and it's like gaming focus, and it's
Mm.
also kind of like the message boards of yore.
It's true. I don't know what it is. And yeah, Brandon said, yeah, they tried Mastodon, but it never got traction. And that's the thing though, like it's not gonna get y- it needs to be easy. It needs to be easy for people. And not that you necessarily want it swamped with every normie, but like you
Yeah, yeah.
do want like a good pool of people, including those who aren't
Or a
that
dead
technically.
pool of people.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Um
or nice pool. Oh, we could get topical there.
uh
Have you been reading any of those articles? How they're
no.
getting like litigation against them because the one guy thinks that they're using basically nice pool to troll him. That nice pool is essentially based on him somehow. I don't know how you'd ever make that connection stand up in a defamation case,
So
but
was he just some
mm,
like yuppie hipster? Because that's how I
I
viewed
don't
Nice.
know. I know. It's like, wasn't Nice Pool kind of like the poor, hapless rube that just
Yeah, yeah.
got sacrificed? Like, I mean, like, he wasn't a bad guy.
Weird. That's weird.
It was
Um,
almost more like Ryan. I felt like it was more like Ryan Reynolds poking fun at himself. He was like, "Why would wear a mask? What are you talking about with these cheekbones?"
right, right. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of little it's like a amalgamation of different traits of
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's asinine. That doesn't seem like it's going to go anywhere
No, I don't think so.
from the little bit I learned just now from you.
Plus, they
I'm an
got
expert on this case all of a sudden.
well, I mean, but like just just thinking about it is like Disney lawyers. I mean, Ryan Reynolds has got Disney lawyers behind him. If you're going to come after Deadpool and Wolverine,
Right. Right. Right, exactly. Um Yeah, Brandon said problem is you go where your friends are, social network, no go if you have no one to talk to. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. And that is Threads did kind of excel at focusing on Blue Sky's real promoty, and I do it too. It's a real promoty. But I always made a point to not be that hardcore promoty on Threads. So maybe it's breaking out of that a little bit on Blue Sky. Um, what were we gonna say? Hey, let's talk about something. Y- let's talk about. Hey, you been watching, reading anything interesting?
I was gonna say I'm always, but I'm not. I'm not always. There's several weeks where
Right.
we come to the camera and I'm like, I haven't watched anything.
I haven't watched. Yeah. Right.
but
Right.
but no, I have actually watched a lot because like we took several weeks off and it
Right.
was like right during the holidays, and so I actually did do some deep dives
Hmm.
into some things. One of the things though, I kind of want to follow up. It's almost like an update on an old one that we talked about, and we on this show we used to talk about comic books. Um, so the second issue of this Worst in Mayhem comic that I talked, it's a Kickstarter comic, and I'm kind of here's the segue. I I'm Twitter friends with Ryan Kroboth. And so like that's kind of why I'm connected to it and whatnot. I've supported a lot of his things in the past. He's been super like responsive with me and Axton. And so like Axton and I were like we were ping-ponging around an idea for a D&D type of comic as well, which is what this comic Worst and Mayhem is basically. And like he immediately messages me on the side on that messenger app that I don't have anymore.
Right.
That'll be fun.
Right.
I mean, like, you leave these platforms at your own peril a little bit too.
Yeah.
But anyways, the second issue of this comic called Worst and Mayhem, and Worst is spelled WURST, so like brought worst instead of the worst, but she's the worst. It's these two characters that are just like, they're like jinxed or cursed or whatever to be like stuck together, and one's just kind of like this super strong doofus, almost a Gaston character but less evil, and then just like an kind of a roguey character too that may or may not be a vampire. I haven't decided. Anyways, it's a lot of fun, and they obviously kind of, in the writing process or the scripting process, they very clearly are doing that thing where they're just trying to make each other laugh, and that just is good fun for the rest of us. I haven't read both. Like, it's like a 48-page, like super, like giant size X-Men kind of comic. So it's not like just like your super thin floppies. There's 2 stories in there, and the first one was fun. They go to like a restaurant / sorcerer, and the sorcerer is like serving chicken, and it's being served by the undead skeletons of chickens. So they basically like they're killing the chickens to serve the meals, and then they just use every part of the chicken. What can I say?
Real quick shout out. Hey, Savannah. Savannah's here. Wow.
All right.
Maybe we should have abandoned Facebook ages ago.
We should have. We really should have. And I hear that Savannah's on the Red Note, so maybe the Red Note is the next place to be, especially if they decide to squash the TikToks.
Yeah, she just said that she joined Red Note. She's learning Mandarin now. That is back to it, because there's so much. I know. Back to the TikTok. That is maybe the funniest thing is, the whole TikTok ban because of its ties to the Chinese government. And so people jump ship to Red Note, Chinese app. It's so funny. Right. That's the best. I
mean, just goes to show how little people actually care about that part of it. I don't know.
She is learning Mandarin. That is funny. Yeah. That is the most internet response possible.
Yeah.
Giving it to the man, she says.
Putting the man. You can't spell Mandarin without the man.
I'm not on TikTok, but I do know that there was a trend of people saying goodbye to their Chinese spy, and that is also very funny to me. That was apparently like, a trend goes.
Okay. So their videos were about like being like, man, we had some good times.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of sad about it because, like I've got a picture I did up here, and like there's a group of people on TikTok that I really connected with.
Right.
And, Harlem Knight was a guy, is super cool dude, and then he passed away.
Yep.
And that was how I knew him. And he was going to try and stay in contact over on Instagram when he was going to leave the app, and then he passed away suddenly in like a freak car accident related deal. And so like it's a bummer. And I know people like Ben who have really created and fostered their first truly big audience. Like he's actually getting toy companies sending him stuff. He got a package today of their Blockies. They're like I don't know, there's kind of smaller action figure sets kind of thing, and they just sent him like 3 huge sets. I don't know what they would go for if you bought them in Target, but like they probably wouldn't be cheap. And all he had to do was like a couple videos, because he has enough of a following. Like that's what he's finally built and fostered there. And if the ban goes through, he loses all that, and he either has to build it all up again somewhere else or say la vie.
Right. Real quick, I just want to say hello, Jasper.
Man, everybody coming out.
Right.
We should come back to YouTube
It's
months
and
ago,
it's so
apparently.
weird because these, people Facebook is where people it's where people were watching, but uh Jasper said China to China, we keeping it all in China.
Why not?
Yeah, Savannah had 10K followers on TikTok.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I mean, yeah, that's tough, to see
right.
that just disappear. Someone said no.
Yeah, I wonder. I still can't say, like, even though it's supposed to be, who knows? Who knows what'll happen? YouTube Shorts ain't the thing. I know that much. I don't think people are clamoring over YouTube Shorts. Maybe it will be where they go, but the YouTube algorithm sucks. And from what I understand, that's what TikTok is all about. That's what
Mhm.
set it apart. Um,
Oh
and
man, the early days of TikTok too. I mean, like I would say just before the pandemic, like that
mhm,
was like kind of the sweet spot. Then the pandemic, everybody was on it because nobody had anything else to do. Uh, you know, and so then I don't know. It kind of declined, but not so much that you would know. I mean, it's still a powerhouse. It's the video social network, really.
right.
Everyone
Um,
else is just kind of following suit. Reels, and I mean, Reels was around, but like Reels started looking a lot like TikTok.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and the YouTube Shorts became a thing. They weren't a thing. Like, it's so obvious
Right.
when one platform succeeds and then the other established platforms are like, oh, we got to do that too.
Yeah. No, it was totally different. It's not the same.
Right. Yeah. It's okay to stay in your lane.
Mhm.
Not every company doesn't need to try to monopolize the industry. It,
Remember when everybody was trying to be Snapchat for a minute?
yeah. Yeah.
Because you could get a filter on anything, because filters were a big thing for a hot minute. They still are over on Snapchat, but I don't know.
Um, I, my general desire to put for as much output as I used to try to go for died off. So TikTok wasn't really a thing for me. Like, I could see the appeal. You know, I created a couple profiles, but like I just kind of fell off by the
Yeah,
time.
you had to be so regular to
Right.
catch anyone's attention, and I don't even have a fraction of the audience that Savannah has now, or
Right.
or Ben or any of them. But
And podcast clips might do okay, but like that never seemed like the right form. You're on there more. Maybe that does pop up more, but that didn't seem like the type of format people really liked.
like some of them did well, but they had to be so curated for TikTok. They had to
Yeah.
feel as authentic as possible, and they
That's
had to
the
be
thing.
so
Yeah.
quick, and they had to be like really to the point and captivating. So, like I think it'd be a lot of work,
Right.
curating that kind of perfect clip worthy content all the time.
And I get it. Like, I'm make my living editing podcasts. So I'm all about, yeah, stress that content out. Like, what's the proper term to use? Like, whatever. Podcasts are great, like little mini content factories. You pull all kinds of stuff. But
Sure.
TikTok didn't, I don't know why. It didn't seem like the place for that because, like you said, it's not the most authentic.
Yeah.
On YouTube clips, that's fine. Bite-sized clips, maybe. I
Sure.
I never really understood
You see that
Instagram.
all the time on YouTube
Right,
and even on Reels. You see a little bit of that kind of
right.
content, right? But like, yeah, that's not TikTok. TikTok, you got to make the dumbest, quickest video. That's what's going to blow up. It's got to be so obviously honest. Otherwise, they can spot a fake a mile away. It's those Chinese spies. They're good at that.
Jesper says he read on Ground News that the new administration will now intervene to save access to TikTok, but that will change with the wins. And
That's
Savannah said she heard the same thing, but she's afraid it would take constant financial donations to anything Trump. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before is like, first of all, can he even do it? Because it's literally the Supreme Court ruled on it, right? Like, so sure, if anyone can, it would be the new administration, but I'm skeptical that there's even a pathway to that. Like,
Mhm.
maybe he can delay it. I don't know. I think at the end
Um,
of the day, it's still going to be whether or not they sell it to an American company.
that is insane. That's still such an insane proposition to me. Like, we're gonna ban you unless you sell this obviously lucrative part of your business.
Why would you want to do that? I mean, you'd have to sell it for an unreasonable asking price, and then no one would buy it.
Is it is it ByteDance that owns it? Is that the company?
I want to say that was the company that did.
Yeah,
Yeah, or does.
I have no love for TikTok or ByteDance or the Chinese government, but it's such an insane ask to try. It's such a weird strong arm tactic to like pry this social network out of this other like company's hands and be like, no, you have to sell it to, you know, an American company or a US company. Bizarre, bizarre.
Well, and like these Chinese company, like the bad actors from China, they're getting this information from other social media outlets. They're just not in charge of it. you know, like
Dude,
they're still farming data from Facebook. I mean, the
yeah.
Russian bots were all up in the 2016 election.
Thank you, Savannah. She digs the shirt. Yeah, yeah. It's great. It's one of my faves. Freddie being a perv like he does. Uh
Yeah, perv was superfluous in that, I'm pretty sure.
right. Freddie being Freddie.
Yeah.
Uh I don't remember what I was gonna say. It wasn't that important, but yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, they're any company can buy all the data that Facebook or whatever, like
Mhm.
that's their that's I said advertising was their bread and butter. It is, but like also selling data is their
Data
bread and butter.
selling data so that other people can advertise is
They
also a bread and
literally
butter.
changed their name to Meta. Like that's what they're
Yeah.
about. It's the metadata. Um, but yeah, are you telling me they're like, oh, you're from the Chinese government, no sale? It
Right.
doesn't matter. They're getting the data. Um,
To me, it just screams of continued old men who don't understand how the internet works, but they think they understand how everything else works. So they're like, no, you can't have this space internet pipes thing.
right, right.
China has China's got their faucet in our pipes, and we hate that.
Savannah says we gave him our info on Red Note.
Oh yeah.
in return, in return, all TikTok users under the age of like we'll say 40 are now just gonna directly send their personal information to the Chinese government just to spite them.
Yeah. Here I am. I'm like, I'm not even going to use Facebook anymore. And there's other people that are like, they're like, here, have it.
Have it, have it.
Show me the things I like.
right, right. Uh, so I've been watching watching some things.
Yeah,
By the
what have
way,
you been watching?
so, Savannah says, to my understanding, it was the Israelis that pushed for the TikTok ban. I mean, there was definitely some weird political stuff because they didn't, and by they I mean our government didn't like the free exchange of thoughts. They didn't like the thought processes and the things that were going around on TikTok. I think that's was pretty evident um around the whole uh what is it? Palestine
Oh,
stuff.
Gaza and Israel, the
Yeah,
Gaza
yeah.
area.
It really ramped up around there when people
Yeah.
yeah. They didn't like that. They have no control over that social network. So that's
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
what I
yeah.
view it as is
Yeah, they can't just pull a TikTok. I mean, they can, they did, but like at the end of the day, they can be like, whatever, we're gonna keep doing what we want.
Right. I don't think they care about the Chinese government spying on US users. I don't think they care about anybody spying on US users because everybody's doing it anyway. Everybody's
Right.
spying on everybody. If they really cared, they'd pass some of the laws that, like, for I don't know that they do any good, but like Europe has lots of laws about around privacy online that the US just they don't care.
Listen, we're gonna tariff them.
Then our eggs will be cheap as crap.
We don't get Chinese eggs. Maybe we should. I don't know. Now we've really gone off the rails. Chinese eggs. That's our next t-shirt.
Chinese eggs.
Chinese eggs are delicious.
Would it be like an egg in a trench coat with sunglasses, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
And it's got like Chotskis. It's got like it's like an egg in sunglasses and stuff, and it's got all of our our imported goods, all of our like
right.
technology and whatnot. Would you want a motherboard?
Savannah says, I'm sorry I always do this to us. No, it's fine. We miss the chat has been dead.
Yeah.
The chat has been dead for months, and we do miss it. We do miss it.
Yeah.
By the way, Melanie happened to skip this one. So it's maybe a little bit of a bummer that Melanie skipped this one since Savannah's in chat, but she's sleeping and she was asking me about the dog. We don't own a dog. So I was like, she needs to get a little sleep.
She needs to sleep a little more. Yeah.
She's like, do you see that dog? I was like, nah, I don't. I'm sorry.
Not in this apartment.
Why are you hiding a puppy from me?
Right. What's the dog's name?
Yeah. What the dog doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, come back more often. We're somewhat consistent. The holidays we took quite a few breaks.
I messed us up. I messed this up a little bit, but we're back.
No, I don't
We're
want
two in a row. We did
I
2 weeks in a row. Man, we should just retire the show. It's never getting better than this. We got an audience tonight. We've got stuff to talk about. Now, next week's just there's no way we can top it.
It's all downhill. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
I don't want your dog. I don't know what a dog in here would be like. We had a cat, and one of the other tenants has or had a cat, but a dog in his apartment complex. I don't think that's a good idea. Dogs are generally much louder.
Yeah. And the kind of dog that could exist in an apartment would have to be small, and they're the loudest dogs.
They are. They're so yappy.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of comic book related, since you had a comic book thing.
Yeah.
To be honest, Grawlix is usually comic book related, but very rarely actually about comic books anymore.
Yeah. It's like comic book adjacent, like adaptations. Yeah.
So I won't talk about it too much because partially Melanie's been watching it with me, and we're not totally through the season yet. But I remembered the Penguin exists and was a thing, and so I was like, "Was that good?" So we started watching the Penguin, the Max, the Max series with that was obvious. Colin Farrell, yeah, and that was obviously. They started before the merger, like because they put some money into it. It looks good. I think we're 4 episodes in now, and I like it a lot. I think the first episode I still think is the strongest. It's just it was a good, compelling start, but it retains the vibe and the look of the Batman. So it's dark.
And it would have to because it's so mob related. Right. This is a Falcone who is in the Batman.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this follows kind of like you can get away with watching this without having watched the Batman because they do a little. They fill in the gaps, but this follows kind of the aftermath of that and the Penguin, of course. But I don't. Jasper made a comment. I don't understand something about the Gundam and put together the gun plot. I don't know what that means. Uh, do y'all do Gundam? No,
Gundam's a anime, old
right?
school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I'm gonna ignore those comments for now. Um, so far, I like it. It's really, I feel like the writing's good. Episode 4, there were some characters that were a little over the top, but it's otherwise like it is a pretty grounded mob story so far. But also, I think the strongest thing is the character work. The Penguin, they make like he's such a fleshed out character in this, and it's such an interesting take because there's a little kernel of like some part of him who probably wants to do good, but he's also just such a scumbag, and you just can't be trusted at all. It's just so it almost works at times as like a character piece, and that's kind of refreshing. Uh, in a comic book adaptation or a TV spinoff of a comic book movie is to have it so character focused. Um, and also Sophia, uh, oh, you just said the name of the mobster family. What?
Falcone or
Yeah,
Maroni.
Sophia Falcone. Maroney's the other family. Is
Yeah.
also kind of a major player in it. Yeah, I don't know. So far, it's really good. I don't really get too into it, but I think it's definitely worth a watch. It's you know, it is that I'm glad they have the HBO logo that comes on before because it does feel like HBO prestige television level production. Um, and
Oh, as opposed to just the Max original.
just the Max
Yeah.
original, which you aren't necessarily bad, but
No.
this is specifically branded HBO, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. I see where you're doing. It's something I think they would envision playing alongside like a Game of Thrones or something like they put some money and effort into it. I don't know. I have yet to
Does
finish it, so
the Batman play into it very much? I mean, I'm
he
assuming he doesn't because otherwise the Penguin can't really
right.
get established, and that would probably be pretty big news if Patterson was.
Right. No, yeah, he doesn't he hasn't showed up at all. I don't know if he will. I kind of feel like he probably won't. And it kind of works because so far, I mean, it's playing into like a mob war type situation, but so far it's like low scale enough. I mean, it's kind of big scale in a way, but like it's still very street level, and most of it is like Penguin scuttling around trying to cut deals and undercut this group with and like it's we just got to an episode where like a big thing that might draw Batman's attention has happened, but at this point, 4 episodes in, it's not like you know blowing up the the blowing up
Yeah,
city blocks and stuff. Like
sure.
it's still more street level mafia crime that would have to naturally like for the stories to make sense in Batman. Like he can't really be that hard. Like he can't really crack down that much on the mafia because otherwise there wouldn't be mafia stories to do. Like they're still
Sure.
doing their business. Batman can't take care of all
Yeah.
of it, right?
He wouldn't
Um,
have informers if there wasn't something going on.
right.
Right.
I would love for a Matches Malone to show up, and
Yeah.
and is clearly just Robert Pattinson in a bad mustache. That's what I'm waiting for,
That
honestly.
would be awesome. Yeah. No Selena Kyle just creeping around.
No, no, no.
No? All right, okay. But, I do like the universe of that the Batman established and the way that the Penguin was used in that first movie. I mean, like, I always cringe a little bit when there's a whole lot of characters, like, anytime you try to couple, the Catwoman and the Riddler and the Penguin, but they did so well with the Batman, and I really liked how they made the Riddler, um, kind of his own version of the Riddler, like I don't know. Again, it falls back on that character work, even within the context of only a movie, which is only 3 hours. I'm assuming these are like an hour long episode or 45-minute long episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
45 to an hour. Yeah.
See, I appreciate that. Even with something like Creature Commandos, like even though that's like a half an hour, the
Mhm.
fact that there's like 8 episodes, you have time
Yeah.
to flesh it out. And if I segue from yours to mine, like
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll get into Creature Commandos more, but I'll just throw out that I finished it, and if I had one criticism, and it's the main criticism that I've seen lobbied, it's that the final episode feels rushed.
Okay.
And it being season one, also, like, a lot of people are willing to forgive that, and it's like, hey, if there's a if there's a criticism that's not even really a criticism, it's that we feel like we want more. Like, yeah, I want more of that.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's true.
But
Um,
like with animation, it's one of those properties where it's like it's untested, so we got to kind of see if this works, kind of thing. uh Animation's not cheap, so you want to make sure that if you're going to keep it going, that it's worth doing, kind of deal. And so I think they probably had a bigger story they could have told, or they could have stretched it out and it would have been a little better. But I think it was it was really good. Every episode was really pretty awesome.
I'm glad that it's been received well. It seems to be
Yeah.
received well and fairly popular because uh, Peacemaker, outside of Peacemaker, this was like the first, because Peacemaker kind of bridged the gap, right, between
Hmm.
pre the current new the DC gun reforms, the new
Yeah.
current James gun regime, uh, from the old whatever. But this is, I think, is the first James Gunn led purely in the new continuity project that's released, I think.
Yeah, because I don't think that I think that Blue Beetle is maybe loosely tied, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's like a full blown James Gunn thing, is it?
I think the gear started turning on that before he
Right.
was involved. Yeah, before the changeover, like Peacemaker kind of.
Mm.
Um I'm so excited for Peacemaker season 2.
Oh yeah, give me more of that. Because
Th-
season one was so bonkers, and they reference it in Creature Commandos. I'm sure. Did you get that far? You got far enough where they started mentioning it? Because the one character is in there, like he talks
Oh
to Amanda
no.
Waller and whatnot. He's got a cane in it, but he's like, "Yeah,
Okay.
I was stopping an alien invasion."
I'm sure I have. It's been a couple weeks since we watched. Yeah, I that's just a show I didn't fall off of. I just forgot existed, and
Right.
I need to. That's what we should have been watching this week instead of Penguin, but it's all right.
Well, there's time. We'll get
We'll get
into
to
it
it.
because there's
We'll get
every
into it.
episode's kind of a nice little pastiche, and
Right.
kind of focuses it in on a character while forwarding the main plot.
And that's kind of like Peacemaker's maybe a little bit different because it does, of course, there's character work, but it's also like just the tone of the show. It's kind of wacky. The character's kind of
Yeah,
wacky.
the
Uh,
characters are all kind of broken, and then they're all working together.
right, right. Uh, which was the strength of Doom Patrol too, even though
Hmm.
that was purely before whatever. That was kind of its own thing actually. But um the character work in the new properties, like even the few Creature Commandos, like you get the backstory on the last one we had watched was when you got the backstory on, is it GI Robot? Was that
Yeah, GI Robot. That was
right?
that was a great episode and kind of heartbreaking. You know.
That kind of storytelling is kind of where they're exceeding with these
Hmm.
offshoot projects. And man, yeah, that's great. But I've been saying it for years. You take something silly like the Penguin, or like any character that James Gunn seems to really be infatuated with, something silly, and then you treat it seriously. I mean, you can
Hmm.
still have your fun with it, but treat it seriously and just tell a good story with it. Like, I don't know. I love it. I love that. So,
Yeah. Oh, you made the polka dot man. Like, kind of
right.
like, whoa,
Yep. Yep.
don't mess with his powers, man.
Um, yeah, outside of that, I've been watching a bunch of Nordic noir, so I'm not going to get into that. I'm back on my moody detective kick. So, yeah.
It's that time of year.
That's
Cold,
probably what it is.
cold and dark.
That's probably what it is. Like, yeah, wait. I need to find a show from Iceland or so.
What
Trapped,
would
by the way.
Odin do? Um,
I
so
suddenly,
the other thing we kind of talked about, talking about, like we jump the pond from DC to Marvel.
right,
Really, the big thing is Deadpool, or not Deadpool. Oh, that was Freudian. Daredevil's coming.
right. Well, I bet the first person who saw the Deadpool designs when they were introduced was like, Daredevil? Well, no, that's something different.
Oh, right.
Rob, what are you doing? Where's his hand and feet? I'm trying to think of the most hackneyed like Rob Liefeld jabs. Anyway, yeah, Daredevil Born Again trailer. It's got me hopeful. It's got me
Yeah, it's
hopeful.
interesting. Like the idea that Matt would actually stop being a vigilante. They hinted that in the trailer,
Right.
and it's like so they kind of build in the absence. Like why would Ronan be the one that would take down the Kingpin or butt up against the Kingpin in the Hawkeye series?
Mm,
Well, if Matt wasn't around, that would explain some things.
that's true. That's a good way to kind of yeah. That's a good point. Um, and I knew like the reports were it was going to be tonally similar to the Netflix stuff, and that was the main thing. Like, also real quick, the Penguin. That's it's a show, but it's rated R. Just so you know, like
Oh yeah.
they went harder than the Batman for sure. Anyway, the in the Daredevil trailer, the tone, of course, they're going for a more uh maybe more moody or at least more serious, dramatic tone. But the the violence, some of the stuff in the trailer, they show at least two like horrible limb breaks in there, and they're pretty hardcore. And I was like, oh, so they might actually go all in on it. That's awesome. I don't know that they'll go as hard as the Netflix series did because those were straight up rated R as well.
Oh my goodness, some of
Yeah,
the Kingpin's moves, man. Like
right,
it's like they saved some of the most shocking stuff for him to do.
right.
you know.
Um, but I'm hopeful for that because man, I liked that was again taking these characters and handling them in a serious manner, you know.
hmm
Uh,
To
so
the point where they even made fun of Daredevil once they all got together as
right,
the Defenders. You're like,
right,
oh god, he's gonna wear the mask because he's the only one with a costume out of the whole
yeah,
group.
yeah. You're right. You're right. Uh, Man, Luke Cage was a good show. I liked Jessica
Yeah,
Jones too. Yeah.
yeah.
I think the Defenders like was fun, but it did lack a little something. Like I think the plot was maybe a little lackluster, but
Yeah. It felt like I don't know. It just felt like like how Boba Fett felt like the Mandalorian season 2.5 or whatever.
uh-huh.
That's kind of how the Defenders felt. It was like, well, we've got some problems with the hand ninjas.
Right. It's just kind of
It's
like
like,
an
yeah,
extension than its own like thing or a really good
yeah.
amalgamation. I'd be interested. I know we discussed it way back when. It'd be interesting to see if my opinions on it had changed since then. But yeah, Kingpin, Mayor, they're doing that thing. I'm not super familiar with
Yeah.
that any of those storylines around that. So
It's kind of the same deal as like Lex Luthor becoming the president. It's
right,
like how in the world, but also, kind of makes sense, I suppose.
there's so what a good time for it, right? Like there's so many like
hmm
little
Oh
commentaries they
yeah.
could make.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
interesting.
it's funny because they've been doing it for ages. I mean, I
Right.
guess that commentary must have been relevant for an awful long time.
Just becomes more and more relevant as we go along.
I know it was like life imitates art.
Maybe it's always been relevant. It just becomes more stupid. It's just more blatant
It's
and
like,
dumb.
oh yeah, that's real. This was supposed to be fiction.
Right, right. couldn't have got a better writer for reality, huh?
Right.
Pretty hack.
Right.
But no, yeah, I don't know. It looked great. But once I heard that, like, I don't know the actors' names, but Karen and Foggy,
Oh, Karen and Puckett. Yeah,
they're coming
Deborah
back. As soon
and
as and that's been known for a while, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, ooh, okay, I might get excited
mhm,
about this if they're like bringing them all back. And we got Punisher up in
yeah.
there. So
Curious how they're gonna work him in. I really hope they're gonna do more than 8 episodes. I hope they I don't know, like 12?
at this
12 would
point,
be
we're gonna be
great.
lucky if we get 8 at this point.
I
Probably get
know.
7, 6 maybe. Like, it's really trending that way, and I get that it's expensive. Like, they put more
Mhm.
money into shows, but it sucks.
Mhm.
That reminds me of a little aside. Melanie and I did watch and finish Squid Game season 2,
Oh.
and it is so clearly and apparently I think it is literally season 2 is half of what season 2 is. I think they held back the second half. Uh because it doesn't season 1 at least like it was clear the story could continue on, but it kind of had a resolve in a way. It felt like its
Right.
own thing. This just clearly is like, wait, that's the season finale. Nothing's
Mm.
resolved at all. Okay, that sucks. I mean, I guess they cut it in a spot where I don't know, but it was okay. I don't know if you ever did. You even watch Squid Game?
No, I never got in on Squid Game.
I like it. It's a good show. The first season was great, and this season so far is not bad, but tonally is kind of a little bit of a mess. Like the music, and I've seen other people complain about this, and I looked it up because I was like, what's up with the music in Squid Game season 2? It seems so like on the nose, but also out of place. Uh, some of the choices, and I looked it up, and other people have the same complaint. Um, it lacks some of the like, especially during like the games, it lacks some of the tension that the first season had. It just
Mm.
it doesn't seem like they're trying to. They'll go for tension at times, but then like oh, somebody succeeded at a thing, upbeat rock music or some electronic
Or
dance
like
music, and it's like,
a
oh,
video game victory sound.
yeah, yeah, and it's like, yeah, no, but there's still like hundreds of people are supposed to be have died in this episode, but like most of the episode was like, oh, succeeding at the thing. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh man.
It's not bad though. It's a little bit of that I enough where I was like, it's still good so far. It's just it's clearly not the full season. And Netflix really like, come on, they got to stop that. I mean, they're not going to. They don't want you to unsubscribe once the show's over,
No.
but it sucks. I'd almost rather have them do the weekly. Just I mean, I know people like to
Mm.
binge, and that's
Yeah.
probably in a way better for certain shows, but I'd rather have you if you got to stretch it out, just go weekly. Screw it. We'll stick to a
Yeah.
schedule. We'll watch it every whatever.
They've got other shows that are like that. I mean,
Yeah.
they're doing that now with wrestling.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do that.
I have something to talk about.
Oh.
How long have we? What time is it? Okay, I
We're
don't want to
getting
keep you
there,
too late.
but you know, is it amazing?
I'll tell you what's amazing. Okay, I don't know if it's amazing. I binged Mr. McMahon on.
Oh, you
No,
did binge it. Oh,
I
okay.
I
Yeah.
binged it
I
all in
still
one
haven't
night.
seen that, but I mean, I know a
Oh,
lot about McMahon, so I mean, like we can check. I mean, you won't surprise me.
I think so. I don't know. I thought you had mentioned it at some point, maybe.
I think we talked about it with
Right.
someone. So,
Uh, and I don't know why. I was like, okay, let's check it out. And it's interesting because and they state throughout several episodes of it because it's like a 6 episode docu
mhm,
series thing.
sure.
And I watched all 6. I was into
Oh
it.
yeah. I mean, he is a fascinating dude. I'll
I
give
think
him that. You
I
know.
think my favorite part is, and I'm a little surprised at how much attention they put to like the history of the WWE, but that was
Mm,
kind of my favorite part because yeah, it is about him. Uh, obviously, a lot of it's about him, but they also put kind of like it's a good rundown of like the big milestones for the WWE. So
Sure.
it definitely hit nostalgia for me on a lot of parts, especially like there's the stuff that was like definitely before I was too old
Hmm.
or old enough to remember it. But then of course like around WrestleMania 1 and the Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan
Oh
stuff
yeah.
and is like, "Oh, okay, that's what I'm talking
Sure.
about." They
Yeah.
cover
Yeah.
that pretty extensively. Um, the stuff after that leading into and then the stuff after I stopped watching, like as the 90s went on, it kind of got
Hmm.
more and more crass and
Yeah. And they wanted to
vice
make it seem like it was more real or
right,
whatever. Like, but in the way that they tried to make it more real, they made it way less real. It was almost more dramatic and soap opera-y than it ever was before.
right. And I had fallen out long before that by the time they got
Hmm.
to there, but that's also like at the point where it's even if you didn't follow it, you couldn't help but know because like eventually they get into like Stone Cold and all that time. It is like it was
Yeah.
huge and the merchandise was
Yeah.
everywhere. I remember it
Oh
being such a
yeah.
big deal. The was Austin 316, like just every
Hmm.
all that stuff.
Yep.
So even the stuff that was like after my time, so to speak, and then after that and into the 2000s and whatever, and then it kind of cleaned it up a bit. Um,
Hmm.
Super interesting. So as someone who at one point, as a was enjoyed wrestling but fell out of it, I still was pretty fascinated by that aspect. But then of course it does also like highlight him and his role in things, and I'd say and it's interesting because like one of the interviews with somebody close to him in the last episode they had seen some of the previous episodes. I don't know how that works if the
Oh,
producer showed
interesting.
it. So they're
Yeah.
like somebody even comments like you're making him look like an a-hole. Like I've seen some of your episodes, these episodes. You make him look like an a-hole and he's like not blah blah blah. So there's a bit of that. I think the show like yeah, he doesn't look good. He doesn't look
No.
that good in it. And
Well,
it
the original production of it happened
yeah,
well before the sexual allegations started
right.
coming out, and and then and then they had to pivot, and whatnot, and also, he's been at this for he was at this for so long, and who knows, he may, he's I can't remember what the update was, but I think he's basically settled most of it. Like,
Yeah.
it's most of it is done now. So he may return in some fashion to the business, or he'll probably continue in some kind of sports entertainment
Mhm.
um, industry in some way, shape, or form, at the very least. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's so ruthless in so many regards, like, not just that, like,
Mhm.
he's also ruthless in the way that he was in charge. He's
Yeah.
ruthless in the way that he dealt with talent. He's ruthless. I mean, like, you'd show up and he'd tear up the script for the night, and now you're doing something completely different. He'd make you come to tapings and then maybe you weren't even on TV.
Right. Yeah, they definitely don't shy away from the negative aspects, and there is still a sense of like you're definitely not getting the whole story on a lot of it. Like it's probably so much worse than anything you get. It it is like kind of interesting the production of it, the production and release is both unfortunate but also kind of puts it in interesting light because there's several disclaimers on several episodes that all of uh his Vince McMahon's interviews were recorded prior to the charges or whatever,
Right.
and most of the other interviews were recorded prior as well. Um, so then it does interesting thing where towards like it's like the series is wrapping up about episode 5 of 6.
Mhm.
And they're talking about, well, do you think he'll ever quit? And people are like, oh, he'll never quit. He'll never leave. Blah 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 blah. So it's
Right.
interesting. They definitely like leaned into that before then running into. I mean, at that point, I don't think there was even that much information out. Kind of like interviews they picked up later from people
Yeah.
to like kind of fill in the gap post like the charges or the whatever it is. I don't know if it was
Mhm.
the accusations, um, him leaving or being forced out and then coming
Right.
back, and
Yeah.
and I was
That's kind of
curious,
fascinating.
yeah, and I was kind of curious about because they also get in a lot of the family, like the onstage
Mhm.
family obvious personas obviously is kind of
Yeah.
the main focus, but also like kind of how much of that kind of was reality, and you can't really tell. I mean, obviously all the wrestling stuff was,
Oh, yeah, the way
they're
that he pushed
scripted,
his
but
son because he's got this certain weird male ideal,
right.
kind of thing. Is like, well, like Shane was gonna have to take it from me the way that I took it from my dad.
And it's the at least the way it paints it as he would like shamelessly, in kind of an embarrassing manner, take from like real life scenarios or
Mhm.
aspects of their dynamic or things that happened or like
Oh, any of the wrestlers, really.
cheating on
Yeah.
people and whatever else,
Yeah.
and then make storylines out of it. And it's like,
Mhm.
dude, come on,
He would
man,
and
come
he would
on.
ma yeah, there was, one of my favorite wrestlers was Matt Hardy, and, there was, like, real life drama because Lita was his real life girlfriend for a while, and she did cheat on him with Edge, who's Adam Copeland, and, they and Matt went on social media and did this whole thing, and then he got fired from WWE, and then they were like, oh god, but we got to get him back. So so he signed another contract. He got a lot of money to come
Right,
back
right. I
because there
bet.
was so much heat, there was so much natural tension that was actually there, and then it made the storyline that much richer. But it's like, what an awful way to do business, man. Like,
Hmm.
that's these people actually have legitimate anger,
Right.
and now you're asking them to sideline it so they can do a show and and still be safe about it, but make it real enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the like to play out, to like write these plot lines that are like clearly inspired by these things that the people are actually have dealt with or are dealing with, that is like real kind of messed up. Man, it kind of seemed
Yeah.
like, at least the way it painted it in the presentation of it seemed like he would do that to people intentionally to punish them, to kind of like, yeah, okay, well let's do this then.
Oh,
We're gonna
yeah.
play this
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Um,
You could see it in real time, the people he was mad at, because
right.
they either wouldn't get any screen time whatsoever, or they'd get written off in a way that was kind of just like, oh, why? Just buried them kind of deal.
But it's interesting afterwards, I was like, well, what is the, because it pretty much set it up as like who was gonna take over after him, and who it like was obviously who was still there when he had left, and he, even though he kind of came back for a bit, was Stephanie McMahon and what's his name? Triple H, right?
Triple H, yeah.
And so I was curious after watching that, I looked it up. She's left since. And
Mhm,
so
mhm. She
I
came back for a little bit,
okay.
and then when he was gone the first time, she kind of stepped back in because she had left, and
Okay.
then she came back when he was ousted the first time. They brought her back, and her and Nick Khan were basically in running the company for a while. And then when he came back after he had left, she left again.
Okay.
Like, she was staying away from it as much as she could. You could tell.
Uh well, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I checked out after the fact the first Raw that Netflix did. The first like
Oh,
Riot Live, just out of
I heard it was
curiosity.
fine. I heard it was like a kind of a glorified house show, but pretty
Yeah.
exciting, but kind of a glorified house show for their first Raw. So I don't know.
Th-
I haven't even seen it.
there was so much like, although this has probably been true of all the shows because they don't like, the matches only take up a little bit, but like there was so much. We got The Rock here, we got Hogan,
They had
which was
Hogan. Ugh.
very, I did see articles about that, and
Yeah,
that's probably what got me interested in checking all of it out to begin with, was hearing that he got booed nonstop
yeah,
during his appearance. But it was so much just like promoting Netflix, promoting WWE, promoting
yeah.
my thing, that randomly, like, and it's like, cool,
Here's
where's the
here's
show though?
Kieran Culkin. Here's Macaulay Culkin.
Right.
Here's this guy who's in the audience. Yeah. Yeah, that is slightly new. I mean, if there were celebrities there, they would often highlight them, but not to the degree that I saw from just clips.
And the self-fellatio of Netflix, and it was the same with that big boxing event with Tyson
Mhm.
and what's his face? Like constantly like Netflix talk about Netflix. It's like we know. Stop
Yeah,
advertising that it's Netflix putting this on. We all
yeah.
know we're watching it on Netflix. We see the logo everywhere. That got so tiresome. And there was a lot of that I noticed. But yeah, Triple H was like he seemed like he's the guy leading.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and storylines and whatnot. It is head and shoulders better than it was at the end of Vince McMahon's tenure because, like I said, he was just like he'd have some crazy idea, even though there had been a storyline that had been completely written by his writers who are hired to do that. He would just like be like, "Yeah, no," and then be like, "Nah, this is what they're actually gonna do." It's like, man, just run the company. Let your writers write.
Uh yeah, so that was a small rabbit hole I fell down. It was interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I guess there were random times throughout my life where I'd fall into it again. Usually, if somebody I was hanging out with was really into
Mhm.
it, and it can be entertaining for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm curious about the Raw and live broadcasts, but man, there's just so much not show to sit through to get through to the show.
I
That's kind
know.
of
I
a
know.
bummer.
I did try to watch it this week because I noticed I wasn't doing anything while it was on, and I
Mhm.
was like, so I fired it up and I watched like a little bit of it, and I was like, yeah, there's a reason I don't actually watch these. I just watch like I watch like the YouTube shows that talk about it,
Right.
and then I wait for the big pay-per-view, and I might sit through that.
Yeah,
You
if they
know.
could cut it down to like if you got like storyline stuff happening between fights, cool.
Hmm.
And then you got the bouts or whatever the matches,
Hmm.
uh, cool. Cut it down to that. I don't need all the other crap.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll get
Right.
better about it. Like it was kind of a congratulatory, celebratory, it's on
Sure.
Netflix now type thing for that first go around.
Yeah.
But
Well, even then that second one, I came in on it and you could tell that they hadn't quite gotten their live game together because they were like it's like Pat McAfee was like trying to talk sports about something and I was like, why did or like football. They had this like thing where they were like sometimes the real the WWE blends into the real world or the sports world, and it was like they tried to do a wrestling move. Somebody had done it, had made a touchdown, and they were trying to do a wrestling move in the end zone, and it was awful kind of thing. But then he was like trying to highlight the other guys who were the excited whites because they were doing like a victory dance around the guys who were doing the WWE move in the end zone, and the he was like trying to get them to play the video so that you could see the excited whites doing their excited white thing, and it just wasn't going well. Like they had to say it a couple times, like keep playing the video, play the video. It's like, oh god, this is not a good look, guys.
it's kind of crazy. Like, and I get it. It's like kind of a new operation, I guess. But I
Yeah.
did get that sense during the boxing because I watched all the boxing stuff, that one
Oh
boxing
god, yeah.
broadcast,
If you
and
could, yeah, if it wasn't buffering.
yeah, when it wasn't frozen, buffering, or just wouldn't load, uh, forget trying to watch it on a screen, anything but your cell phone. Like
Yeah.
that was a mess.
For some reason, the cell phone worked the best. It didn't make any
Yep,
sense. I
yep,
was
and
like,
it's like
why is that? Why is that? It's the same
that's how
infrastructure,
that's
you
how
know?
that's how people like to watch their enjoy their big
Right.
event sports is on a tiny phone, not a big
Yeah, yeah.
screen.
Big guys hitting each other on a tiny little screen.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, David Lynch.
Oh no, actually a really good segue. Watching your live sporting events on an effing iPhone, uh,
Right.
or cell phone or whatever he called it. All right, so yeah, let's mention that real quick, which again normally we don't, but David Lynch passed today, and that's a bummer. And there is something about I was happy to see, and it's partially probably because of people I follow, um, how much it dominated my feed. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
good, because like good. He had because his work is I guess he did make avant-garde stuff mainstream, but
Hmm.
it could be viewed as so on the fringe, but like no, David Lynch was a pretty mainstream character and it
Hmm.
dominated my feed like all afternoon and into the evening. And it's in the news a lot. And so that's good. But he should have that kind of impact. Uh but also like I associate with the right people online if it's dominating my feeds, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I noticed a lot of like my poet friends were posting about
Oh,
extents,
yep,
like the artist community kind of banding together and that kind of stuff. Like he was doing things that was different.
right. Oh
So,
yeah, poets. He was tied into a lot of those communities even directly, like not just as a filmmaker.
mhm,
He was active in art communities and poetry and meditation and stuff like that, like all kinds of things.
sure.
Um, well, last year at some point he had announced that he'd been diagnosed with emphysema, so
Mm,
it was kind of inevitable. Like, I mean, obviously it's inevitable. It's inevitable for everybody. Um,
sure.
but you know, I was like, oh, that sucks. So like, gotta expect that David Lynch's whatever. Today was also, I shouldn't even say this. I don't want to jinx him. Today though was John Carpenter's birthday, and
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
John Carpenter is up there in age enough uh,
Yeah.
that I worry about him. So when I seen John
Sure.
Carpenter on the feeds, I was like, oh, it's his birthday. Cool,
Oh,
good.
oh, he's okay. He's still alive. Yeah.
Don't take Carpenter and Lynch from
Yeah,
us on
I
the
know.
same day. Um,
Yeah, man, we're getting hit at the beginning of 2025 with some deaths.
mhm.
It's kind of crazy.
It's yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think Lynch had been kind of done like Carpenter. Lynch, I think, had been done as a filmmaker for a while. I'm
Right.
still like that last Twin Peaks series was essentially like a 20-hour long David Lynch movie. So I was
Mhm.
always just like, I'm glad we got this because I don't think he's gonna, I don't. He doesn't seem too active in
Right.
terms of filmmaking anymore. Um, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
that felt like
bummer,
a gift actually, because it
right?
was like, oh, I didn't, yeah. They'd been talking about it for a long time, but I was always skeptical that would ever actually happen.
Hmm. He used to he had he had stopped uploading videos regularly to his YouTube channels as well, which was also kind of like he's getting up there. Um, but because he used to upload daily,
Oh wow.
and it would be he'd do like I think the weekly he'd do a weather report, but it was like his weather report was like he'd look out his window in California or whatever. And like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a sunny day, blah blah blah. And that was his weather report. Look out the window to see what it's like. And that was the weather report. For a longest time, he'd do daily, like draw a number, random number. Today's number is, and he'd like out of a bucket and he'd put it in front of the camera. Weird things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Just some
yeah.
like random idea that he had, and he'd commit to those. He did those for a long time. So when he stopped doing that too, I was like, he's getting old. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a bummer because I mean, who knows? You can't say anymore who's a good guy and who's not. But he always seemed
Right.
like a very pleasant guy, and I'm sure part of it was a little bit of a put on, like his persona, like the Boy
Oh
Scout
sure.
kind of. But that
Yeah.
also was super interesting. I think decision that he presented himself that way and made such oftentimes weird and dark content.
And disturbing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But just remember, you gotta have time to dream. Gotta have time to dream.
Yeah.
Look up his. He throws tantrums. Like I bet. I
Oh
bet he
yeah.
could be a real jerk sometimes. Look it up on YouTube. That's a fun little rabbit hole of him going off on people. But there's not that many videos, but the ones that are out there are classic.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mad
Well,
at
even just his, them watching it on their phones, it was
so
enjoyable
good.
enough.
Such a good
Yeah.
clip. He's such a person. He was such a personality. But anyway,
You could even say that David Lynch was amazing.
he was amazing. You know what else is amazing? The fact that I don't.
I feel like we did a show without Melanie, and that's strange.
That is strange.
That's amazing for us.
You know
That's
what
amazing
though?
for
If
us.
Melanie was here, there's several. We definitely wouldn't have talked about social media so long.
Nope, she would have reined us in.
We definitely wouldn't have talked about WWE at all.
Oh
Probably
yeah. Or it would have been way truncated. It would have been
way
cut down
truncated.
way more.
Yeah, for sure. But that's you know what? This is what you get.
Yeah.
This is what you get. Melanie's not here.
You know
this is
what we do.
Yeah.
You know what we do.
You know what we do.
You know what we do.
It's just gonna be every episode title from now on. You know what we do. You know what we do.
Speaking of what we do, what's going on with the Edge of Abyss this week?
Edge of the Abyss this week is the same as every week. No, the same as most weeks. I anticipate. I don't know what kind of a release week I'm looking at, but tune in here on Helix Rock Radio if you're listening on Helix Rock Radio right now at rockradio.live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central for 2 hours, and I'll play a whole bunch of most likely brand new release extreme metal tracks, primarily death metal, thrash metal, some black metal, doom metal. Those are the main wares I'm peddling over there. But interestingly with the show, I do like to focus on new releases, so I have no idea what I'm playing yet till tomorrow.
Oh,
like you can get a hold of some new release lists, but like some of the albums just legitimately won't be out till tomorrow,
or just drop randomly.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what I'll be playing, other than death metal, thrash, a little bit of black metal, a little bit of black metal. A little bit of black metal goes a long way.
Even if you're not into metal, I recommend just popping into the stream for a while, because then Randy will read to you the names of the songs and the musicians. And that's always just fun, just out of context. You haven't even heard the song, but he'll tell you what was on the last block or the upcoming block. And you'll go, oh, wow, that's the name of a band or song.
That's true. I was gonna say, first off, I tend to pick things that I'm bad at to do, because especially
because those names are not easy.
Dude, some of those, especially getting into the black metal stuff and like Norwegian names, and even German's a little easier, but even some of the I struggle. But the ones I don't struggle with, yeah, you're right. The names are they're colorful. There was a song last week that I was like kind of charmed by how basic it was, and it was the name of the song was like Psychotic Murder, and I'm like, how quaint. It's just Psychotic Murder. That's what you're doing.
It's succinct. It's to the point. I like it.
To the point. It's almost cute. It's not like cut your jugular with the skull of an infant or anything. It's just Psychotic Murder. Simple.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Dude, there's some of the band names, even I couldn't even dream of saying them on Grawlix. There are some things where sometimes I want to play it just to play it and be like, this, I played this. And other times they're legitimately titles where I'm like, I have to think real hard about whether I want to say it, whether I want to play the song, because I don't know if I want a recording of me saying things like that. Some of them go real hard. Anyway, Helix Rock Radio, rockradio.live. Check it out tomorrow night. Friday nights, every Friday night. I'm pretty consistent with that one.
Yeah.
But
trying to think of that must have been on Messenger, because I remember trolling you during the stream last week.
Was it Detest the Sun?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I detest the sun.
Yeah, I detest the sun. I was like, me too. That SOB taunting
Yeah.
me every morning, telling me I need to go to bed.
Sometimes I have to go outside, but that sun wants to kill me.
Yep.
See how I'm so pale that I practically glow. So, like, I don't need the sun to make me glow for real. Your radioactive charm.
Right. I don't. The sun is just a thing that happens outside sometimes. I can see it through the
I mean,
window.
I know we need it, but do we?
Do we? We could work without it. I got lights in here now.
Yeah. Well, we got science. We
got science.
something.
Give me my vitamin D.
That might be a complete eradication of the human race kind of deal if we didn't have sunlight. But yeah, God, give me a chance.
If you could
Let me try.
Grow plants indoors, you can grow me indoors. Hydroponic Randy.
That's a band name. You could grow me indoors.
Grow me indoors. Hydroponic humans. Grow light nursery. Wait, that's still just a plant thing.
Yeah. You do a whole album that's just like, yeah, things you'd find in a certain section of Menards.
Right.
Yeah. Like, oh man, that's really avant-garde.
Soil for the human seed,
which is they're gonna listen to it on their effing phone.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh man. I do think about that. I once in a while, like if I'm doing the radio show, like the Edge of the Abyss, because I'm either listening on my speakers, but more often on my headphones. But I'll turn on the phone just to see how it sounds. Most of the time, I'm like, okay,
oh yeah,
sounds okay, sounds fine. But most people, that's how they listen to things. That's crazy to me. I guess
Sure,
earbuds are a big thing. They use that, but and of course I make music, so I do think about that. And
sure,
I'm just like, more people might like it if they listen to it on good stereos, but who knows?
Yeah. They're kind of good stereos are almost a thing of the past. So
it's weird to me. Once in a while I'll get on I'll be like, what's going on in stereo tech? And it's like nothing. Nothing. It's
no.
It's the sound bars and small devices. Yeah.
It's all about getting your signal out there wirelessly. I'm like, really? That's not the best way to it's not the best sound at all. It's you're either on vinyl or you're on a Bluetooth speaker. Sometimes you're listening to vinyl on a Bluetooth speaker.
I still have that turntable, and even that thing, like, I think their intended default is the Bluetooth capability. It's like, it's a record player.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right. It's a record player, man. Although I do like the idea of like super old tech mixing with new tech, but still.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
New tech sucks.
I've got a CD player that's Bluetooth ready, you know.
I want a stereo with speakers that I can use as a stand to hold the stereo. But no, that'd be terrible speaker placement. But still, I like big speakers. In fact, you can't really, you could see a little bit. So this, the main legs of this whole, like, it's a longer like chunk of wood that makes this like, not cabinet, what's the word, counter type deal. There is a filing cabinet, but otherwise it's held up by old school speakers. They're tall speakers. Like you can see that black spot right there. That's a speaker holding that thing.
Oh, okay.
I like that. That's what I want. But that's not really. I use it as a stand because I live in an apartment and you can't have speakers like that in an apartment.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, it's pointless.
Not if you want to continue living in an apartment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey Jesse, you got anything exciting, interesting coming up you want to tell people about?
Nothing super pressing. No. I do have shows coming up, but those won't be until like March and April. So
okay. Slow time of the year.
It is.
It's all right.
It's time for that Nordic noir.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Cold and dark.
Look up Trapped. I should talk about it. Season 1.
Trapped with a T? That guy?
No.
Not that guy.
Trapped is a Nordic noir out of Iceland, in which
sounds very Nordic noir.
the main premise is like, of course, there's a murder happened. A murder happened.
Oh, a
So
murder.
there's a case, detectives and stuff. But the whole thing
Mhm.
is, it's like it's a rural Icelandic town, and they get cut off from everybody else during a blizzard. So most of the season takes place during a blizzard, and they're isolated. And I'm like, that's ticking all my boxes right now. This is ticking all my boxes so hard.
Right. Yeah. Yep. You had me at hello.
You had me at
Or
hello.
whatever is Icelandic for hello.
Yeah, you had me at good slugging.
Guten Slag.
Uh,
Guten morning.
you know, if you could actually like just watch subtitled shows, I mean, people do learn that way, but watch and actually absorb it. I'd be
Mhm.
really good at like probably Danish and Swedish and Japanese. I'd be great at those, but
Oh yeah.
I don't absorb any information like that.
Well, I don't think Japanese is the easiest to just like
Right.
learn via immersion.
Watch a few anime and be like, whoa, I know Japanese.
I get it. You took the red pill.
Right. Okay. We need to get out of here.
Yeah. I have a Friday, which is why
Oh yeah.
Thursdays.
We pushed. Also, if Melanie was on the show tonight, we wouldn't have pushed it to almost 10. We rarely go
Oh,
this late anymore.
that's true. That's true.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Jesse. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me. This was a fun conversation. Thank you to everybody that joined us in the chats. You're probably gone by now, but thank you for when you were here. And if you're catching us on the replay, you can join us on Thursdays. Oh, Monday. Yeah, that was a word. 8-ish.
8:30, 8-ish, 8:27-ish. Yeah. On sometimes on Helix Talk Radio, sometimes on YouTube, maybe Facebook, maybe Twitch.
Mhm.
We usually announce what's going on Facebook. So yeah. So it'll either show up there, a link will show up there, or about 10 minutes, 20 minutes prior, be like, no stream tonight. So
yeah. We'll let you know somehow, somewhere, some way.
Grawlixpodcast.com, GRAWLIX podcast.com. Go there. There's things to see and do.
Yeah.
All right. How do I end this stream? It's going to end as clumsily as it started.
Yeah. We'll be looking at